Hey, beautiful people, I'm Babs Rose-Ivy, back in the hallway. Guess what? It's the Emancipation Takes a Knee world premiere. It was our second world premiere commission project as a collaboration between site projects, David Sepulveda, Susan Clinard, Jamie Burnett, who is a personal friend of mine, and so is David Sepulveda, and the beautiful Travis Carbonella. This team plus facilitator, Salwa Abdussabur. Y'all know Salwa, that beautiful, talented muse out there in these streets. And several young activists from New Haven Public Schools reimagined an infamous monument. So you saw that preview. It was sponsored by Met Interactive. Thank you, Rachel Mealy. We appreciate that.
Hi, I'm Rachel Mealy, president and co-founder of Metropolitan Interactive. Met Interactive is passionate about helping arts organizations execute their big ideas with smart, sustainable, easy-to-use technology solutions. We believe that art helps bond diverse individuals into communities that appreciate newness. At Met Interactive, we build entertainment venues, so like stadiums, casinos, theaters, museums. And you've probably experienced some of our work if you've been to, say, like the Lincoln Center and seen their illuminated LED stairs on Columbus Avenue, or if you've heard maybe the sound system at the XL Center in Hartford. A notable project is the Schomburg Center, one of the world's leading research facilities dedicated to preserving materials from throughout the global African diasporic experience. We've had a hand in really many of the venues across Connecticut and throughout the United States. This year, Met Interactive is sponsoring Emancipation Takes a Knee. It's a filmed performance by artist Susan Clinard. Amid national protests and calls demanding an end to systemic racism and removal of monuments celebrating Confederate heroes, Emancipation Takes a Knee aims to bring light and education on these matters. Before I formally introduce Emancipation Takes a Knee, our team at MI would like to congratulate all the awardees.
Congratulations.
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 Without further ado, here is Emancipation Takes a Knee.
In 1876, the Emancipation Memorial, a tribute to Lincoln, was dedicated in Washington, D.C. in Lincoln Park. The memorial was largely paid for from the wages of newly freed slaves, but the committee that chose the artwork was a group of white men. Frederick Douglass, the famous African-American orator, gave the keynote address to a crowd estimated at 25,000. President Grant was seated in the front row. Douglass included several comments that were less than congratulatory about Lincoln and the monument. Criticism from the black community echoed Frederick Douglass's sentiments. The crouching pose of the freedman was demeaning and did not indicate the active role that blacks played in their own liberation. There is no sense of power or self-determination in the freedman's pose. The inequality in the relationship between Lincoln and the freedmen is clear.
This statue was to represent, the Emancipation Proclamation, to represent that time and really be this is the unity. My question is, did they do what they were set out to do?
Today is really a performance
piece slash discussion about some very serious and very real subject matter about our public monument and how we can recreate, rethink, reevaluate monuments that have kind of shaken this nation.
So, we're here. We have this piece of art in front of us, a statue, recreated for your viewing pleasure.
By recreating, I mean that there's a clay copy that has been made of the Emancipation statue where we will give agency to a figure, and it's an honor to be with all of these powerful young voices today.
In comparison to Lincoln, what are you guys kind of feeling about, his, the way that he's been sculpted in this way?
Yeah, like you're saying, it's obviously very intentional that he was kneeling. And the people who were creating this was most likely white men who were stuck in that way of thinking that black men and black people in general were lesser than them.
What my hope is to get out of this conversation is to really hear the authentic voices of young people, unfiltered, untouched, unpatronized. And I think that's what's really going to shift and move some real things that we really need to address.
What does a position or even a look of liberation look like? And how should black folks be represented in art?
Scholars have noted that this monument represents the conditions of slavery, even though it was meant to celebrate Lincoln and the Emancipation. The Freedmen's Monument has been the center of much controversy through the ages and up to the current Black Lives Matter protests.
So right now, the students are deconstructing the kneeled figure
To the Colin Kaepernick pose.
So Jermaine, keep pushing all the way down until you feel like you hit a piece of wire. Right now, Io is removing the shackles and the chain of the freedmen as we speak. Zoe is removing the loincloth. And Jermaine is actually going to now reposition Lincoln's arm.
Colin Kaepernick turned that position into something really powerful. By doing that and being the only one that was kneeling instead of standing, he said so much through that position.
Really also showed resistance and liberation and fighting for what's right.
We're not trying to make him Colin Kaepernick. We're just trying to say, here's a present position that young people today will recognize as an act of, a fight against racism, police brutality. And this is just one step to the standing position. We want to make that leg look like that leg. That leg look like that leg. The most important thing, we want to show that this elbow is resting on the knee.
He kneeled and he was the only one who did. And there were thousands of people watching him. And to do something like that is not normal for people to do, just doing that and staying with your word is I feel like that was a really good thing to do.
But it also meant something so much powerful that this is America needs to change. And if all lives are supposed to matter, why can't black lives matter,
So the students have sculpted the Freemason into the Colin Kaepernick pose, and now we'll begin to raise the figure up, standing strong with dignity, and begin to clothe the individual. I'm going to hold this. I'd like you to take this and try to bend it down, all the way down, and keep going, 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 keep going. Okay, now.
I like this because it can go on and on and on forever.
Right.
And you can use different people, different objects, different things, different postures, poses. And I wish a lot of people could get the opportunity to take something like this and really think it through and think about the past and how far we've come, and I think it's really neat.
But what we're doing right now is, it's you almost never see sculpture live, right? But to watch sculpture live is pretty cool, I have to say. Look at all those beautiful hands on that piece. Maybe this is also the time to talk about gesture of his body. Is he looking forward at his future? Is he looking away from Lincoln?
Yeah, I feel like even just
chest forward a
yeah,
bit.
even with the chest forward would be like.
With her chest forward, the shoulders are back. And this is not really a sculpture class as much as it is an everything class.
Because you kind of like put the person through the motions. It's not just like a sculpture that like is sitting and then suddenly standing and it's all solved. That you really get to see this like progression and these different ways of viewing him, these different ways of looking at, like Kaatje said, like liberation and justice and fighting for freedom. You really get to see those different moments and transitions. It's not just like immediate sitting and now you've sculpted him into a standing position. It's more fluid and more human.
Do you think this could be a tool to continue discussion, to just keep taking it? I mean, from what everyone's saying, there could be maybe 25 variations of all of these symbolisms and feelings. I mean, it's not a finished discussion, is it?
And I feel like there could have been so many different ways that we had put him in that we could have come to like the same conclusion. But I think for this instance, standing was what made most sense with Abraham Lincoln standing as well. I think it's also like a brutal process. Like I'm just keep thinking about like how we had to like undo and break down and cut up this like black man in order to get him even to a place where he's standing next to Lincoln, and all Lincoln kind of got was a couple plugins and here and there, and he's still in the same position he's at. Yet, we had to really break down everything in order to lift this man up, and I think that is so representative of like where we're at right now and how we like assume it's so easy to do all these like people have been fighting forever to break down and lift people up to this stance of poise and dignity. And we got a long ways to go. We got some sculpting to do, some smoothing out, and all that great stuff. But inevitably, it's gonna be even harder to put him back down. It's gonna be even harder. So, shout out to you, my guy. I know you're a real person. So.
The controversy over demands to remove Confederate flags, statues, and monuments that are understood to glorify the Civil War, slavery, or the perceived inferiority of Black Americans will rage on. Emancipation Takes a Knee explores the history of the creation of one such monument and the reimagination that embraces a more expansive vision, embracing equality and inclusive voices for a just humanity. Youth can provide a fresh perspective to these issues of representation. It does matter.